Hello, my name is Brainsmasher, and today we got a special video. My boy, Simon from Explosive Action, is laid up in the hospital with an exploded, infected appendix. He's got it taken out. So he's laid up in the hospital watching YouTube videos. We got to entertain him. Talking about 6 death metal bands or albums that are tier B that I think are better than your A's, your better, bigger bands. So first of all, if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button, I would appreciate it. It helps out the channel a whole lot, and it makes you a cooler dude. Wouldn't believe it. I love talking about obscure bands, the lesser known bands. I love suggesting stuff that you may not have heard about to people who need it in their lives. I love obscure stuff because I remember being so tired of going to newsstands and going to pick up the new issue of whatever magazine came out back in the 90s and just being so disappointed because the same bands were always on the covers. Look at this. Metallica, Deicide, Carcass, Deicide, Obituary, Biohazard, Cannibal Corpse. I didn't buy most of the ones with Cannibal Corpse on. Deicide, Napalm Death, Morbid Angel, Obituary. Look at this old Nordic Vision with Morbid Angel. 6 Feet Under, Morbid Angel, Deicide and Morbid Angel, and finally Morbid Angel. Those bands are fine. I love me some Morbid Angel as much as the next guy. I don't really love Cannibal Corpse nearly as much as a lot of guys out there, but for some reason I had the luck of getting into metal at a time when a lot of my friends who were already into metal had dug deeper into the lower echelon of more obscure bands. And I joined them in that pursuit back in 95, 96, 97, 98. And so that's where I cut my teeth. And then I arrived upon later bands like Slayer, Obituary, etc. So I've just always been somebody who favors bands that I feel like no one else is really paying attention to. So I've got some really nice OG presses of hard to find albums that mostly have been reissued, but these are some near and dear obscurities that I absolutely love to tell you about because I think they are a lot better than a lot of your top tier bands. Let's start off with what I have playing in the background. This I consider it absolutely essential, and I hope you can hear it while I'm talking. You're gonna love it. First of all, can you hear that mildly pingy kind of snare? The drummer is so in the pocket, his playing just follows along with the intricacies of the riffs so well, and it accentuates the guitar riffing, which is fairly simple and not necessarily all that brutal or oppressive or intense, really. I think this is a really groove-laden kind of band. This is Decrepit, from Ohio. Oh, just when I lay my eyes on this cover, I just get so excited because I love this sound so much. This is a compilation of some of their demo and 7-inch material. Oh, it's so good. So this is pretty out of print. It came out on Dismal Records back in the 90s. But I feel like a lot of people might think of this as being very mediocre and kind of sounds like a lot of other mediocre death metal bands, but I just think there's such a lack of gimmicky behavior and songwriting in this that it just comes across as so genuine, so approachable, and just so appealing to me. The guitar tone is just really wide. It's got the hard panned kind of twin guitars coming at you that just make it an assault of the riffs. Really good. Creation of Sin, Decrepit. I feel like most death metal bands, like your Deicides and your Morbid Angels, your Obituaries for sure, they burned out after 1 or 2 albums. And so the things that they did well, they stopped doing well long ago. And so I love bands that don't even fuck around with trying to do flashy, impressive kind of stuff like that. I love digging down past the weeds and all that into the obscurities, the stuff that might be seen as otherwise mediocre, to find gems just like this. Going up to Canada for this one, and have you ever heard of Cryptopsy? Probably. We all love Cryptopsy, right? First couple albums were really good. This is a band that was one and done. In fact, they had a demo and a full length. And this is Blood Incantation. No, never mind. This is Agony with Apocalyptic Dawning. You might recognize that cover artwork from the fabulous full length from, Blood Incantation. But this is a Canadian band, and they're very technical at what they did, but they didn't ever lose sight of the balance and maintaining lots of mid-pace kind of groove stuff. This was kind of more of like a storytelling, kind of alien world-building kind of band. And the vocals on this thing, they sound like a toilet erupting vomit for an hour straight. So this is their only full-length Apocalyptic Dawning with the demo added on to the end of it. This is like a precursor for bands like your Neuraxis. They definitely rub shoulders with bands like Gorguts, Suffocation, all that stuff. There's a couple of instrumental tracks on this thing, but man, the technicality is out of this world. The tone on this thing is beautiful. The recording is absolutely flawless. I can't recommend this enough. It needs to be reissued by a cool label if somebody would get around to doing that. Let's do it. If you got to put new cover artwork on it, fine, I understand. Blood Incantation kind of claimed it. But yeah, you seek this thing out no matter how you can. Next is a band I feel like a lot of people are already quite aware of, but they are definitely never going to be attributed to being like the creme de la creme. No matter how much you try to reframe the past, Deteriorate will always be underdogs, primarily because that album cover is... I'm sorry, my glare game is really off tonight. That cover is not winning many people over. And it's because of a cover like this, the understated nature of it, the way that it's so unassuming and so poor and airbrushed and kind of bad, it's absolutely perfect. I wouldn't change a single thing about it. These guys were from Philly. This OG press came out on JL America, which is a quality symbol. If you see this symbol on the back of an album, you get it, and it's going to be good, I promise you. This is Rotting in Hell from Philly's Deteriorate. You could pretty easily equate this with your Cannibal Corpse kind of stuff. But this just really has, I think, a New England 90s death metal sound. Lots of bouncy, pingy rhythms, lots of dumb little breakdowns, just lots of unassuming, uncharming ideas going around. It's just heavy as all hell, obsessed with death. This is an old school classic. Deteriorates, rotting in hell. These guys later went on to be a black metal band. In fact, they turned on a dime after this album and put out a black metal album called The Senectuous Entrance, which is really, really, really good. Up for a couple more classics in the B category. These are devastating. I consider myself so lucky because my friends were obsessed with this band when I was first getting into metal. But Eroded Thoughts from Morg, you can't deny it. Morg began as your more typical American death metal band, but I think they really started to find their footing with influences from more European bands like your Gorefest and your Pestilence. They started to add some technical flair to their album, and there's a lot of really strong melodic leads on this album that make it stand apart from a lot of your other mediocre kind of things. I kind of feel like these guys may have also been trying to sound a little bit like Brutality from Florida, who were one of the first Floridian death metal bands to start to introduce a lot of melodicism to their albums. This thing is just so heavy and sad and brutal. Came out on grindcore. They also had a demo called Severe Psychopathology. Look that up. Y'all know Ken from Ken's Death Metal Crypt. He took this photo. And Ken also plays in a band with Ted Van Tilburg. I collect grindcore releases because everything on that label is absolutely flawless, and this is no exception. Eroded Thoughts is an essential 90s death metal masterpiece. Pick it up. And that cover artwork is so absolutely killer. Being in the Midwest, you were more likely to find a lot of death metal releases in the used bin from bands that were from this area, because these smaller known labels that put these kind of B-tier bands out didn't get widely distributed. So a lot of this stuff, I think, was sourced from shops that the bands may have visited and maybe shows and tours that they played around the Midwest. And so Oppressor from Wisconsin were favorites. These guys, I feel like, didn't really have a lot of success outside of the Midwest for whatever reason, but I think this album in particular, Solstice of Oppression, deserves a whole lot of respect. In fact, a Greek label actually reissued this a couple of years ago. I can't remember the name of the label right now, but I'm going to put it right here. I'm going to pick it up in post. But like I said with the Morg, they're adding a lot of melodicism to this style, and a lot of like brilliant technicality. These songs were demoed out on the previous release. So these songs were written for several years and rehearsed and perfected over quite a period of time before this one came out. There's such an interesting flair of technicality in the way that they achieve their odd harmonies, and some of their riffing is really, really, really cool. There's even some moments I feel like, incidentally, it kind of winds up sounding like some black metal, some of the faster, like late 90s black metal kind of stuff. Like, I always put on track number 7. I think it sounds exactly like something off of Battles in the North, which is another reason I absolutely adore this album. But the vocals are so guttural and heavy. And they also have a pretty good sense of like writing choruses that are easy to sing along with and you want to bang your fist to. The stuff is technical, but they definitely didn't lose sight of having the little candy treats in their song that you're going to remember and you're going to groove along to next time they come around to it. It's just such a heavy masterpiece of an album. From what I hear, this band's entire discography is getting reissued on vinyl once again this year. Next year? I'm not sure. But soon. I heard this from my friend John Bukowski's podcast where he interviewed the guitar player from Oppressor. His podcast is called A Dangerous Meeting, and it's really, really, really cool. He interviews bands and he asks them to pick out 5 songs that influenced them as a band, and then they pick out 5 songs from their own discography to play on that podcast. And I think that's a really cool way to just get to know a band if you're not familiar with them already. But yeah, Oppressor, Solstice of Oppression. This is a classic that I throw on to a lot of people who I think would love it and might not otherwise know about it. Last one, I may have saved the best for last. I look at you and I want to hold you. I want to tuck you under my pillow at night and just carry you around. Ceremonium with Into the Autumn Shade. This is the best Death Doom masterpiece to ever come out of America. There, I said it. Nightfall in Heaven. If you have a chance to pick this up anywhere, do it. You will not regret it. This is the creme de la creme. These guys were slow and their riffs were... they just wrote some of the most excellent riffs. A lot of standard elements in the band, just really turned up to a good quality level of things. But really, just where this band shines is the riffs. They wrote excellent riffs, and the way that their leads they led into these sorrowful, mournful kind of parts was just so clever. Not a lot to look at inside this booklet here. Just some lyrics here. I don't know if this actually has any reissues that are available, but I wound up picking this up just a couple of years ago for I think $25. And it was a steal, I know, but absolutely flawless. I also do have the band's discography on a triple CD reissue from a Mexican label. I'll put some info over here for you to check it out. But it has all their stuff. Totally killer band. So there's a ton of Death Doom bands out there, but this is it. These guys are the best. So there you have it. 6 bands to check out. 6 OG presses that you don't have and I do. Creation of Sin from Decrepit. Agony's Apocalyptic Dawning. Deteriorate, Rotting in Hell. Morg, Eroded Thoughts. Oppressor, Solstice of Oppression. And Ceremonium's In the Bottom Shade. That's gonna do it for me. Check these out. Let me know what you thought of them, which one was your favorite, and we'll see you next time. Woohoo! That was a great video, and it was made possible mostly by me, but also thanks to the undying and kind support of my Patreon subscribers. Thank you all. I love you. If you are interested in being a part of my Patreon channel and supporting what I do, you are welcome to join at the URL below. It is only $6.66 per month, and you're going to love it. Thank you.